Good morning all and welcome to another video. So recently I put out two videos, one which I was washing my bike and it was a time lapse, so it was kind of funny. I just wanted to put it out so that people would have some time pass. That was the only reason why I put it out. The first video that I put out was about the RR310's console, the beautifully stacked instrument cluster. So that was the first video, but in those comments one of my subscribers has actually asked me to tell me any defects or any negatives about this bike. So he was actually intending to buy a bike. So today's discussion is all about that, the goods and the bads about the RR310. So let's get started. So the first thing that I would talk about is the goods about the bike before actually going into the bads, so which is the cons. So the first thing that I would actually highlight in the good part is the tires. Yeah, so we've got Michelin tires here out of factory. So we've got Michelin Street Pilots. Yes, so if you observe, these rear tire is 150 by 60 R17 and the front tire is 110 by 70 R17, and these are Michelin Street Pilot radials. Okay, so the very good thing about this bike is how it handles. So that is something complemented by these tires. So why am I actually emphasizing on these tires? Okay, so what actually happens when you actually ride a bike is the tires are something that actually be in touch with the ground. So the stability or the ride control or the way you handle the bike actually depends mostly on the tire. Yes, so these tires are actually very good. The reason why I am telling is, if you observe the tread pattern here, these are zigzags to the end, and we've got a smaller tread patterns at the corners. Okay, a similar pattern is present on the front of the tire. If you observe, we've got zigzag patterns here and corner patterns, the same thing that we have saw on the rear tire. So what is it actually with these patterns? So even my other bike has tread patterns. So what is it, what these patterns make a big difference about? So when you actually see the tire is in contact with the ground, so when you actually see, there is a portion of the tire that comes in contact with the ground at every point of time. You might already know, I need not explain you the laws of physics. The amount of friction that is offered or the amount of grip that is offered depends on the contact patch. So this tire, I am drawing a line for you to understand, has a very good contact patch at the middle, and as we come to the edges until here, it has got a very reasonable contact patch. As we go to the end, we've got these grooves getting wider. From here to here, they are getting wider, and we've got extra grooves here. So what is it actually that to do with the grooves when we are talking about the contact patch? So this center contact patch is pretty much depicting the amount of grip that you will be having when you are on a straight stretch of road. And as we lean to the angle, there is reasonable amount, so you can be very confident in the straight line and on the corners. So I would definitely say this bike has got a good set of tires. So these grooves actually work as water repellents. So when there is a wet surface and you go through a wet surface, or if it's a rainy season and you have all water on your tire, so these grooves actually add up to send those water out of the tire, so that this part remains without any water droplets that might provide you a skid. The same thing with the front tire. Yeah, so apart from this, the lean angle that I have achieved was this, and believe me when I say that was really confidence inspiring. I never felt the bike jitter or clot under n number of speed. And let me show you my highest speed that I have achieved during the first 1 month of my bike. And if you can observe, my high speed was 147. The bike was really urging me to pull more, but I did not have enough confidence. Rather, that was not something to do with the bike itself, but that was something to do with my personal fear. So that's number one, guys. So the second thing that I'll be talking when I say good about this bike would be these brakes by Brembo. Yeah, so I'll not pretty much go into the technical specifications like the size of the brake in the front and the rear, and the amount of grip that it offers, the piston pressure that we'll be applying and all of that. So I'll not be talking about all of that. So we have a very good brake by Bre, which is a child company of Brembo, I believe. So we've got enough big disc brake at the front and a complementing rear brake, which is also a disc brake at the rear. Okay, so these brakes are also pretty much very functional when it comes to stopping the bike. So I'll give you an instance of how good they are. I was once very recently holding a speed of 120 kilometers, around 120 kilometers, when a lorry appears suddenly out of nowhere, and I had to apply my brakes at this distance from here to that car. So I'll actually walk you through the distance so that you understand the distance itself. And when I actually plunged on my brakes, the bike came to a standstill from more than 100 kilometers per hour, and that was really a lifesaver. So this is second thing. And the brakes offer a lot of grip for a bike of this size. And also, if you observe, the major takeaway from this bike is this ABS, the dual channel ABS, which is offered as standard on this bike. It is offered both on the front brake and the rear brake, and that's what dual channel means. So if you observe, this is the ABS wire that is actually going all the way to here, and then which is actually pushing itself into, let me change my direction of the handlebar, and here you have it. So this goes into the ABS system that is installed somewhere inside the bike. And let me try to show you the rear ABS. Yes, we've got this wire going into the same system somewhere inside here. Yeah, it's going under the seat. So an ABS, dual channel ABS, is offered as standard, which urges the user or the driver or the rider to actually loosen the grip in case of aggressive braking. So what happened was, when I actually put lot of pressure on this brake lever, the bike automatically tries to push the lever far at regular intervals, stating that the bike should, the wheel spin should not lock and the bike should not skid. So that was one more thing that I have observed, and this ABS works like a charm. Yeah, most riders usually have a defined braking style. So most of the users use only the front brake, and they use the rear brake to complement the drifting of the rear side of the bike. So that's what I also do. So I use my front brakes most of the time, and I use my rear brake to complement any type of wheel spin to the front or the rear slip. So that's the second thing. So these brakes work like a charm. So these brakes are a very good offering on this bike. And coming to the third thing about the goods of this bike, I would definitely say, again, in the handling department itself, these shocks or these suspension setup for the front and the rear. So for the front, it's an upside down cab forks, and we've got a single mono rear shock at the back, which actually inspire a lot of confidence. Again, these are fine tuned so that they are not very soft as in a commuter bike, nor they are very hard as like a track bike. So these pretty much offer a lot of comfort in a city ride, as well as they offer a lot of confidence on a track or while you take down a very twisty corner. So these the third thing would be the shocks or suspensions. So these suspensions pretty much absorb all the undulations on the road. You hardly feel any undulations on the road above normal, but these offer a very good ride quality. So that's what I would say about these third thing, which is the suspension setup on this bike. So these suspensions, I believe, are pretty much similar to the upcoming BMW G310R. So these things are borrowed, I believe, I'm not sure, but as per the updates on fellow YouTube channels, or as per the update from TVS, these are pretty much unchanged. So you can observe the same gold finished upside down fork, telescopic fork on the BMW G310R, which I believe is scheduled to be launched on July 18th or 16th. So it has already been declared that the bike is coming to India. So be prepared, guys. The estimated price would be around 2,80,000, and anything above that is just a deal breaker. Don't go for it. Go for TVS bike. If you are very interested in a naked bike, I would suggest you go for something else. But if it is above 2.8, since BMW is a very premium brand, a BMW is a BMW, so don't go for it if it's about 2.8. This comes at a 2.5 price bracket. So the suspension setup is the same as the BMW G310R and the GS. So before I actually go into the fourth good thing about the bike, I just want to tell you that this bike is very good looking. So it is an eye catcher on the road, and no matter how many people are there on the road, all the eyes will be on your bike itself. Whether it's the red color bike or the black color bike, this bike looks amazing, trust me. So why is this bike so good looker? Because of the fairing. So the fourth thing would be this fairing. So this fairing for the Apache RR310 is not only for the aesthetic appearance, but this has also a lot of functional usage. So this, if you can observe, has wide openings towards the engine, but the air, if you go, will be passing from here. But fear not, the hot air will not come here. So TVS uses this patented technology called the ram air induction or something, I'm not sure of the name, but the hot air which will go into the engine will be deflected out from here. So if you closely observe, the rider will be putting his legs here, whereas the engine heat, all the hot air from the engine will be pushed down from here, which will save the rider's foot from all the hot air that is coming, and he will not feel any heat on the legs. So this works like a charm again, and trust me, I have already tested it for enough number of hours before I say this. The heat from the bike will not come onto your legs, and you won't feel it anywhere between the knee to the toe. So any heat air from the engine will actually be deflected. Yes, because it's a 300cc engine, this bike gets a lot of heat from the engine, but nothing will be shed onto your legs. So that's one more good thing about this bike, which is patented technology by TVS. The fairing, which is the ram air induction, that is the third thing, the fourth thing that is very good about this bike. So the fifth thing, I don't like to actually go too far into the good things and skip this video about the bad things. So I'll end my video about good things in two steps. One, we've got another patented bi-LED technology. So what is this bi-LED technology and how is it different from other technologies? So this bi-LED technology is nothing new. So we have seen in most number of big bikes, and if you observe, both the LED lights light up when you actually turn on the key itself. So this is the bi-LED headlamps that we have, which is patented by TVS. So we've got the DRLs here. So it consists of 1 and 2 high intensity LED lights inside, which is covered by a translucent cover. But then these lights, which are meant to be the headlights, are pretty much high intensity as well, and they provide very good light in darkness as well as in the daylight. So this is pretty much the low beam, and if you observe the high beam, let me turn on the high beam for you. So both the high beams are turned on simultaneously, so both low beams and both high beams. Yes, so this is the bi-LED technology, which offers a lot of road presence as well as a lot of illumination in any time of the day. So this is the fifth thing that I like about this bike, and this bike, the fifth thing which is very good about this bike. The last thing that I would talk about, the goods about this bike, would be the instrument cluster itself. So earlier when KTM came out, so people used to say, and the list goes on to tell the features about the instrument cluster and what all it contains and what all information it displays. So I think this pretty much bet it, because we've got a whole lot of information in terms of light itself here. So we've got 6 lights on the top and 4 lights at the bottom, which display pretty much a lot of information, and we've got a vertically stacked instrument cluster which holds a hell lot of information in it. So we've got a temperature gauge and fuel meter, gear position indicator, and we've got the speedo, the odo, and we've got lot of other information that will be displayed here. So we've got average speed, the top speed, the engine temperature, the overspeed limiter, and the 0 to 60 timer, the track timer, date, lap timer, lap information, setup, and we've got odo, range 1, IMI, I'm not sure what it is. We've got the mileage, average mileage, the total fuel that we have used, and we've got the trip 1, trip 2, trip A, and the high speed meter. So the list goes on. I can say that as well. So apart from that, we've got 2 buttons here and 1 more light here, which displays the excess RPM alert here. So if this gets red, it means that you are revving too high and it's time for a gear change. I think this is configurable. I will be showing that in upcoming videos. But then here we have a hazard lamp, which I think is absent in the KTM. So this instrument cluster, I claim, is better than the instrument cluster on the KTM series. I'm not talking about the Duke 390 that came recently, but then yes, this instrument cluster beats the 390 RC and the Duke series of 200 and the RC 200 as well. So this button is for the hazard lamps. Let me show you the hazard lamps. If you have not already seen on my previous videos, these turn indicators look very gorgeous at any time of the day. And these buttons are very tactile and very responsive, so you can easily understand that you have pressed it or not pressed it without any problem. So that is the last thing that I will be talking about, the pros of this bike. And now let's get into the cons, which is the bad things about this bike. So I will be talking also about the service costs and the service experience of this bike, because I have got my bike serviced for the first time a month ago. So I'll be talking about that as well. So coming to the negatives, I think I don't find any other negatives apart from what the fellow YouTubers have said. So I will only point 2 of them, which are actually the originals, and I think the rest of the problems that the other owners are facing, I think it is only the bike specific, and I have not felt any of it. So the first thing I would say is the vibrations of the panels. So there is this 300 rpm 3000 rpm or 4000 rpm range where the bike gets actually noisy. So you can actually feel the you can hear the bike vibrating. So you don't have any feel of the bike vibrating under any speed, but under 3000 4000 rpm on the third gear or the second gear, you can actually feel the panels vibrating, and that's one thing for downside of the bike for some of the users. Like for me, I have a very big problem with it, but yes, we have to deal with it. The second thing is not so big problem, but yes, this is worth mentioning, that this chain here, if you can observe, is a little loose, but they tight it every time you go to the center and say that your chain is getting loose. So I don't think it's a problem. So but that's something that TVS should actually address. So the second thing would be the chain loosening. That is one problem with the Apache RR 310. So I would call it a second problem. And the third problem for budget users would be the tank and the mileage that the bike offers. So yes, I agree when you say that this changes from user to user and the type of riding style that you adopt. So I am not an aggressive rider. I ride very smoothly. Yes, I go to very high speeds like you have observed in the video earlier. But yes, I am not an aggressive rider. I don't rev the bike immediately. I don't apply brakes immediately. So I do it gradually and over time. So I get a fuel range or mileage of around 31 kilometers per liter. But this changes. And considering all possible riding styles, this bike and this tank range will give you a mileage of around 25 to 32 kilometers per liter. And considering that this is not more than 10 liters of fuel, so that is something like a total tank range of 250 to 300 kilometers per full tank. So that's one thing that few budget riders should worry about. So having said all the good things and the bad things about the Apache RR 310, so I think this is time for me to talk about the service costs and the service experience. So I have had my first servicing of the bike for about 900 kilometers of trip. I've been to an Apache ride, Apache Owners Group ride once, before my first servicing was done and before my registration was done. So I practically covered more than like 900 kilometers before the first service, and the service experience was overall very good, I would say, because I was not kept for waiting for a very long time. I was offered with all the amenities that are required, and the good thing was I was allowed to actually see my bike, what they were doing, and there was a lot of transparency in the servicing. And coming to the costs, I was charged only for the oil. Since it's a first servicing, all the service costs were all rejected or negated from my actual cost. They have changed the oil filter and they have changed the oil. I think that's it. They have asked for my opinion whether the bike had any problems or not. I have told them a cluster of problems which they have resolved. So the problems that I encountered was the chain sound and this panel sound, which unfortunately they failed to address, but it's not much of a deal breaker. The third thing was my instrument cluster once glittered when I actually turned it on. So that's the third thing. And so those were pretty much it, and they have addressed each one of them with utmost care. And yes, initially when before I have actually given my bike to the first servicing, there was some sound that was coming from the engine, and it got resolved once they have done the first servicing. I never experienced it again, so I think that's a very good thing. So that was my service experience. And coming to the costs, you would be charged around 1600 rupees for the oil that they put into your bike for the first 5 servicings. Yes, I think you will have a user manual where you will have the amount of free servicings that you will be having. So I think you need to go through the user manual before you actually go into it. So that's one thing. And yes, my user experience was absolutely good, very good. I loved it. So I did not have any problems with the servicing itself. And the servicing costs, when you afford such a bike, I think these servicing costs are pretty much nominal, and I don't find it aggressively charged. So coming to your answer, this bike is a yes. It's a go. It's definitely not a deal breaker, and you can buy this bike without a second thought. And trust me, it all depends on how you love your bike. Your bike loves you back. So saying this, I want to actually say bye for now. Bye bye. That's it, guys. I hope you found this video useful. So if you like this video, please hit a thumbs up button below the video. Please share this video and subscribe to my channel. You'll have a lot of videos coming up about the rides, about the new users, about other bikes as well. I'll be comparing my bike with other bikes and so on. So please like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell me what I could have done better. Tell me what went better, or tell me what else do you want from my reviews. Thank you guys for watching.